There's about 450,000 people awaiting trial in city and county jails across the United States. While arrested on suspicion of committing a crime, they are legally innocent, and studies estimate the majority of them are incarcerated simply because they cannot afford bail.
What cash bail did was create a two-tier system of justice, one for the rich and one for everybody else.
It's unconstitutional to jail people just because they don't have access to a sum of money.
Many others have had to secure their release using bail bonds.
Private industry does it better. Bail agents do it better.
Collectively handing over an estimated $2 billion per year to private companies in exchange for their freedom.
Bail is an important constitutional right, and without it, what are we saying? We're saying the government just gets to decide who they get to lock up, period, end of story, and throw away the key.
How did bail become so central to our criminal justice system? Why is it suddenly on the chopping block? And are the proposed solutions any better?
Good evening, folks. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Tonight, bail reform. Let's take an in-depth look at bail reform. Let's get the facts. Good evening, folks. I'm Freddie Vasquez. How you doing tonight? Hope you're doing well. Let's find out the facts about bail reform. Good evening, folks. I want to talk about bail reform again, but I want to go in depth, right? I want to take a real hard look at it. Let's get some of the facts, and fully understand bail reform. And if you can't hear me, let me know. For some reason I'm coming in low on my earpiece, but I wanted to get some facts because Nader Sage and Mike Breen, they're going to be up for election. The election is November 8th. You're going to have to make a decision. Nader Sage and Mike Breen recently had a debate, and the first question actually that was presented by Janine Rose was about bail reform. Many people are upset about bail reform, including Democrats. It's a Democratic thing, right? They push for bail reform, and Nader Sage seems to be doubling down. And he made a statement, and he talked about a $250 bail and how it wasn't fair because some people can't afford that, and those people end up staying in jail for 6 months, while those who can are at work the next day. And that $250, I guess he's given an average of what a bail amount would be. But let's find out what are the averages actually. And I wanted to talk about this specifically. I started thinking about it today because Nader Sage is promoting the fact that he's being endorsed by the law enforcement guys, the PBAs, Westchester County and in Yonkers. He said that also in the debate. He shared a flyer saying he's getting all the endorsements from law enforcement in Westchester and in Yonkers. And some people think that's a bit strange because of his stance on bail reform. And I hear that some police officers may be upset. All right. And they're wondering, some of them, rank and file, when did the PBAs decide to endorse Nader Sage? I mean, the guy is in support of releasing criminals right away. And crime is up and people are, again, arrested. They're coming out right away and reoffending. Let's find out the facts. What are the facts here? So I want to get right into it. Share my screen here. Bail reform. Let's talk a little bit about bail reform, right? Bail reform was implemented 2 years ago. Before bail reform, judges had discretion. After bail reform, judges could not set a bail for specific crimes and also had to make it as easy as possible for others to get bailed out for other crimes. And one of the things that Nader Sage specifically said was that bail reform gave judges discretion, but it's quite the opposite, right? It gives them guidelines, in fact, and so they have to go based off those guidelines. And certain felonies, nonviolent felonies, almost all misdemeanors, almost all nonviolent felonies actually, with exception, I believe, 2, And some violent felonies are, allowed to go with no bail and also no pretrial detention. Right. So let's talk about what's the deal with bail reform. Where did the idea come from? And it's June 2015. And I've seen this documentary on Netflix. If you have not, it's about a young man named Khalif Browder. He took his life, committed suicide after returning home from Rikers Island, an experience that was, torture to him. I saw the documentary. I saw the videos. Poor kid. He was arrested for stealing a book bag, right? And he actually was found, not guilty of it. He didn't even steal the book bag, but his bail was $3,000. He was unable to post it. And because of it, he spent months in Rikers Island. But I mean, listen, I don't know if we changed the laws to let everyone just out, right? But I think we need to look at who was the judge in that case, who made that decision, and they should be individually evaluated. Why would you send this guy to Rikers Island over a book bag? All right, it's crazy. And that does traumatize people. So I want to move forward real quick to April 1st. April Fools, 2019, New York State legislature passes bail reform laws eliminating money bail and pretrial detention in nearly all misdemeanor and nonviolent felony cases. It's made supervised releases more widely available despite a defendant's criminal history. 2019, December, overall crime reaches record lows in New York City despite murders and shooting incidents increasing from 2008. I don't know why that said. Governor Cuomo in 2007 declared state of emergency response. Well, anyway, it was implemented back then in April 1st, 2019. I wanted to tell you that. Let's look into it, all right? Because it's important if you're going to go make a decision on who you're going to vote on for New York State Assembly. And listen, I'm a Democrat, but I also like to be safe. And I want my wife to be safe. I have kids. My wife leaves the center at times at night, and it's getting dangerous all around the country. Yes, but it's getting bad. And bail reform isn't just limited to the state of New York. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but there are bail reform laws that have been passed in many other states. So this isn't just a New York thing. And so, it's important if you're someone that's concerned with bail reform, it's concerned with crime, and you're seeing an increase like everyone else. And listen, I get it. We want to make sure that people are not put in jail and left there because they can't come up with a certain amount of money and the crime that they committed. It's a victimless crime. And, it's really, like, let's say drunk in public, right? That should let them out without a bail, right? Shouldn't be no $250 bail because there is a bail for that. It could be $250 to $500, right? I understand that. But we want to be safe, all of us. It doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. We want safe neighborhoods, good schools, jobs, affordable housing, low taxes, or at least fair taxes, right? We want these things. Great fire department, great first responders, ambulance that responds on time, right? I saw my guy Anderson talking about it. All right, so bail reform. On April 1st, 2019, as I said, New York State passed sweeping criminal justice reform legislation that eliminates money bail and pretrial detention for nearly all misdemeanors, as I mentioned. So money bail and pretrial detentions eliminated in most cases. So misdemeanors, money bail is eliminated with only two exceptions. That's sex offense misdemeanors and criminal contempt charges for an order of protection violation in a domestic violence case. Obviously, you don't want to get put someone in jail. And why do I just always want to say a guy when it's domestic violence, right? It could be a girl too. Let's right? But you don't want to put someone in jail and then you release them because they don't have to post bail, nothing. Bail reform, baby. You're up out of here. And then they go and choke out their spouse and kill them, right? We don't want to see that. We don't want to see that. So that's good, at least, that they have that provision there for, But what about if they're first arrested for maybe a domestic violence? Because it says criminal contempt charges for an order of protection violation in a domestic violence case, right? But it doesn't say if they're initially arrested for the domestic violence before they get the order of protection, right? The charge that gets them the order of protection. You know what I'm saying? Nonviolent felonies. Both money bail and pretrial detentions are eliminated in virtually all nonviolent felonies with a limited number of exceptions: witness intimidation or tampering, conspiracy to commit murder, felony criminal contempt charges involving domestic violence again, and limited number of offenses against children, sex offenses, and terrorism-related charges. But what about misdemeanors? Are there no like sexual misconduct misdemeanor charges? You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't see anything for sex crimes or sex things, the misdemeanor. Violent felonies. Money bail and detentions are still permitted in virtually all violent felonies, except for specific subsections of burglary and robbery, which is what we're seeing going up right now. Robberies and burglaries, stores and homes. Like homes in LA are getting robbed all day now, right? In the second degree, bail and detention are also permitted in cases classified as Class A felonies, most of which also involve violence. A notable caveat is that bail and detention are eliminated for all Class A drug felonies, okay? You hear that, guys? Let's do it, baby. Class A drug felonies with the sole exception of operating as a major trafficker, all right? So if you can keep it under major trafficker, you're good to go. No bail. So you drug dealers that's keeping it under major trafficker, skip saving money for bail. You know, bail money, you don't have to keep it anymore. You don't have to save for bail money anymore. That's great news right there, right? Judges are required to consider financial resources when setting bail. Now, I want to know, did they consider their victim? Did they consider the person that they robbed, the store that got robbed, right? I mean, did they consider the problems they caused? But you want the judges to consider, I just don't get it. Even where money bail remains permissible, the new law imposes new requirements designed to ensure that defendants can afford bail when it is set. First, the court must always set at least 3 forms of bail and must include a partially secured or unsecured bond. 2 of the least erroneous forms, I don't know, a partially secured bond. That's too much. I'm going to read everything. Judges are encouraged to release defendants while their cases are pending. The bail reform law includes specific provisions encouraging courts to release defendants on recognizance while their cases are pending. In these cases, defendants are under no restriction and must simply appear at their appointed court dates. The court must release defendants on recognizance unless they pose a flight risk, right? So if they can't, they don't pose a flight risk, then they can be released while they wait their trial. So yeah, that's what's up there. What else here? Yeah, that's everything there. I just want to read those parts. So that's getting a little bit in depth about bail reform. Now, Nader says he wants to protect the people who can't afford $250, right? Because $250 is, I guess, the bail average bail. But you can't really get an average because there are different crimes and there's different averages per crime. We can do it that way, right? But really quick, before I get into that, one of the things that Mike Breen said, because Nader said that the law allowed judges to use more discretion, which is not true because you're reading it right there. So it's telling you what to do. This tells you what the judges need to be doing, right? This right here. So it's not true. Mike Breen went up and said he spoke to judges. He was at an event, a fundraising event where there was judges and prosecutors and attorneys and stuff like that. And he actually says that their hands are tied, which I believe that, right? And they just don't know what to do. I mean, it's very confusing to judges. So in the case where, again, these individuals are sending people to jail and putting ridiculous bails that they can't afford for something minor and they're spending months in jail, then you need to look at that judge, not create these get out of free jail laws, right? So it's kind of creating pressure for the judges. Insane. Judges rely on cheat sheet to apply New York's baffling bail reforms. Is it baffling? I guess some judges believe so. Ain't these supposed to be smart people, judges and attorneys and lawyers and stuff? Oh my. New York's controversial bail reform laws is so arcane that state judges recently underwent a 2-part training program on it. How much did that cost the taxpayers? Anyone know? And also received an 8-page cheat sheet to use in court, the Post has learned, right? That's crazy. They need a cheat sheet just to figure out what bail to set. So should elected officials, politicians be delegating what happens in a courtroom? Or should just we leave that up to the judges? And if we find cases where judges make bad decisions, like in the Khalif Browder case, then they should be individually reviewed. Because I'm not doubting that some judges don't go crazy and are excessive and go overboard. I don't doubt that. I really don't doubt that. But anyway, I want to take a look at what is the average bail. What is the average bail amount? There is no one answer to this question, since bail amounts can vary greatly depending on the severity of the charge and the amount of money that is required to finance it. So, hey, there you go, Mr. Nader Sage. You cannot keep using that $250 number, just like you used. What is it with 250? You were saying the $250 million you brought for the Yonkers public schools until you changed it at the debate and said 71. Anyway, however, on average, a bail amount will be around $250. Oh, I guess there you go. Right? Which one is it? You can or you can't? Which one is it? So let's look at it and broke it down here. I'll enlarge this. Crime offense, bail amount. So violating a restraining order, it could be $1,000 to $15,000 bail amount. It factors in criminal history and threat. Controlled substance possession, $500 to $2,500. Again, it depends on who you are. DUI and DWI, $500 to $2,500. Public intoxication. Now, this was the one that I said, okay, maybe they should not be in jail. Just put them in the can, let them freaking, give them some water, and let them sober up and then kick them up out the jail, right? That's it. Let them stay in there. That's their punishment. Sleep in a hard metal seat. Protesting, $100 to $100,000. So there you go, Chrissy Teigen, who was paying for everybody who was protesting and destroying small businesses and private property, billions to the tune of billions of dollars. And she, with her 30 million followers, was encouraging it. Petty theft, $500. Murder, $1 million. Manslaughter, $25,000 to $100,000. Kidnapping, hell, if you kidnap a kid, you should not get any bail. $25,000 to $100,000. Robbery, $50,000. How is it robbery more than the minimum, more than the kidnapping? Come on now, you like robbing a kid, right? And that's robbing a kid. Carjacking up to $100,000, assault $500 to $25,000, felony assault $25,000 to $100,000, domestic assault $5 to $15,000, and so on and so forth. There you go. You can take a look at that. So there's different amounts. But listen, don't commit crimes. Don't commit crimes. I'm just saying, say no to crime. Let me play this video a little bit more here. Look at this.
To understand how we got here, we need to start with the fact that 40% of people in the United States cannot afford a $400 emergency cost.
That cash bail, whether it's $500 or $100, may as well be $1 million or $5 million for most people coming in and out of the system. Bail has a disparate impact on people of color. It has a disparate impact on people from low-income communities and on women and moms.
The average bail is about $10,000 for a felony charge, while even cheaper bails for misdemeanors can routinely run $500 or $1,000. That makes paying bail impossible for many, leaving them to await trial in jail. Jail is primarily for others awaiting trial and those serving shorter sentences, while prison is usually for convicted criminals serving out longer terms. But
stay out of prison, man. Stay out of prison. I was always scared to go to jail. My mother said if I ever went to jail, though, listen, I was born in one, so I already did my time. I did 8 months, but she said, if you go, I'm not going to come bail you out. And I believed it, and I try to stay out of it. So, it's unfortunate. One of the things that they say there is that bail reform and the fact that that some people not being able to pay or afford the bail that's set has affected blacks and minorities, but blacks specifically disproportionately, minorities and the poor disproportionately, right? And saying that there's a higher rate of incarceration among blacks in this country and minorities, Hispanics. Is that a fact? Is that true? And I wanted to look at the statistics. And I think by default, if you have more of a certain group being arrested, then yeah, they're going to be more likely to be impacted by the inability to pay the bond, right? Or they're going to come upon that that situation, right? If they're getting arrested. So there's more opportunity or more likely that there will be people who can't afford it, especially if they're poor and they're black, or they're poor and Latino. Obviously, they're not going to be able to afford that, bail at, maybe at any price, especially, if it's $5,000. So, but let's look at why. Why is that? Why is that? Right. And Proportions rather than populations paints a clearer picture of what really going on. More blacks than whites, for instance, were arrested for manslaughter in 2017. Conversely, the same goes for startling percentage of African Americans stopped and frisked by police in various cities. You know, so and I want to go over that stuff. Yeah, and it's unfortunate. I don't know. You know what the answer is. I'm not going to sit here and give you an answer. I'm only going to give you an answer from a Puerto Rican kid that grew up in the hood, that's been around people that got arrested, that committed crimes, that seen people get arrested. That's seen it all, right? That has seen it all. You know, born in jail, boom, bam, bing, bam, bing. I mean, I done seen it all, from, you know, the hood to boardrooms. I've been there, right? And I think that it's just naturally you're going to have more Hispanic, more Latinos, and more blacks incarcerated, because we are more likely to be impoverished. And when you're impoverished and you're in situations where you find yourself, you know, desperate for, you know, survival, right? You're basically desperate to survive. You're going to take higher risk. You're going to more likely say, you know what? I need to eat. And I don't want to paint it like everybody eats to eat, because somebody say, oh, they're not all need to eat. Some people may need to eat, right? But yeah, some people just want whatever. But whatever the reason, they're going to go and take that risk and rob somebody possibly, right? Or commit some kind of, you know, credit card fraud or whatever, right? And that's just, you know, people who are in that situation because they are impoverished. But unfortunately, because the higher percentage of impoverished people happen to be blacks and Latinos, then you're going to see a higher rate of incarceration. It also doesn't help that Joe Biden in 1995 created and authored the crime bill, which singled out poor and minorities, and it sent them to jail, and it gave them higher bonds, longer sentences than their white counterparts. And in fact, the ACLU did a study showing just how much damage Joe Biden authored crime bill and Bill Clinton's implemented the crime bill damaged black families for generations, as it removed, you know, the head of households from the house. Kids growing up without the dad, they're more likely to get incarcerated, and it just perpetuated that cycle. And he did a lot of damage with that bill, and more jails were built, more people were incarcerated, and I'll go into that, I'll show you. And so I find it very odd that BLM and so many black Americans supported Joe Biden. This is, forget parties. I don't care about Republican Party. Let's just talk about the facts, okay? That's what this guy did, and I was very surprised at that. I said, this guy is the guy that put mad black people. I remember. I didn't go to jail, but I seen it all around me, right? The analysis, the truth, whatever. Let me go. What is the numbers here? There were some numbers I wanted to read off. This is from me. They're angry, blah, blah, blah. Several people, geez, I don't know. I had some numbers here. All homicides, victim-defendant relationship. Victims, white, 53.3% are the victims. 47.4% are blacks are the victims of murders. Offenders, 45.3% are white. Black, 52.5%. Blacks were disproportionately likely to commit homicide and to be the victims of a homicide. And this is a fact, and this is a fact that bothers me, right? And I don't want to blame anybody for that, all right? I'm just trying to figure out how do we, you know, change that. The fact that 52% of the offenders were blacks, and the fact that the black population is a lot less than whites and others, is what's the big problem. It's huge. It'd be one thing if there was 76%, or let's just say 50% whites and 50% blacks, and then, you know, that percentage of offenders were black, okay. But when you have 76% of the population white and about maybe 13% of the population African American, and they're 52% of the offenders, that's really bad. And what bothers me too about all this stuff with Kanye West that they're talking about now, and I don't know if you guys are hearing what they're saying, and they're trying to cancel Kanye West, that, you know, they're canceling his shows that he has because he simply made a comment, right, which he said that, you know, certain group, they kind of run things, they have a monopoly on things, and right, and so but it's okay when he says bees, he calls black women bees, or when they encourage to kill each other in rap music and on TV and things like that, because just keeping it real, right? They don't censor that. You don't think that has an impact on the mentality of these growing minds, these developing young minds? It's real for them. These rappers are literally getting killed. If you don't know, if you're not into that, they're literally getting killed. Like one rapper's getting killed every other month. A real rappers, these guys with money. They're just going crazy. They're getting money and they're just staying in that gang mentality. They're buying guns now with the money that they're getting and giving it to the young guys in the neighborhood that haven't made it out, that are still struggling. And if they kill somebody, they give them a chain. And so that drives the murder rate up in the Black communities. Yet no one says anything about that. We don't censor that. And that's what bothers me. Not to get off track, but I'm just saying that's what bothers me, right? About this whole Kanye thing. So yes, that's a sad fact. That's a sad fact. But here's another thing. You're more likely to get killed by somebody you know, right? Or somebody you're familiar with. So statistically, more whites are killed by, or whites are killed more likely by whites, right? Blacks are more likely killed by blacks. Hispanics will most likely be killed by a Hispanic. That's just a statistical fact. You're more likely to be killed by someone you know, okay? Even though that number, 52%. So yes, so when you have that number of 52% of offenders being African-American, of course you're going to have a higher rate of incarceration among African-Americans. Of course you're going to have a higher rate of African-Americans dealing with, bail issues like Khalif Broward or Browders, who was given a raw deal. Of course, though, because you're going to have more Blacks being targeted, because now psychologically, and I'm not saying all officers are doing this, but psychologically, when you're constantly dealing with a certain group, like you're in a certain neighborhood, you're going to always generalize now. And you're going to think it's the Black guy or it's the Latino guy, right? It's a psychological thing, and you might not even know you're doing it. It's just what I'm kind of used to, right? And it's sad. It's sad. It's unfortunate, and we need to do something about it. The FBI data from 2016 to 2020, Black people were more than twice as likely to commit a hate crime as white people. Wait a minute. I thought the white people were the racists. But this is according to the FBI. On the surface level, white people do commit the most hate crimes, but they are also 76.3% of the U.S. population, when Hispanics or Latinos are included. In contrast, Black people make up about 13.4% of the population, which is listed at 331 million, the population. Anyway, so basically what they're saying is that technically the whites commit more hate crimes, but because of the smaller population size of Black, their rate of committing a hate crime is higher, right? And that's what we have to understand. It's all about the probabilities and percentages, right? It's bad because Democrats aren't educating our kids in low-income areas. Schools are not properly staffed or funded. Neighborhoods are not safe and deteriorating 1,000%. And I was watching a documentary not too long ago. One of the things they said about the Bronx is that when people started to move out the Bronx, that's when it started to get worse, because as the people, homeowners, including Black homeowners, moved to the suburbs, they took away their property taxes and whatever taxes they were paying there, which greatly reduced services for kids and the quality of education. This is why I'm always screaming education, education, education. Listen, I was at the game today, and the girls, the cheerleading squad, they did their first show today. They did the halftime thing. It was amazing, and we're developing it, right? So I don't want to hear nothing negative. I think one person made a silly comment. Let's think positive, right? When it comes to the kids, positive. And so I was happy to see them doing that, because it's giving them a sense of pride. So people can generalize and be ignorant and look from the outside and say, oh, this certain group of people, they don't care about nothing. They just trash and destroy their own things. And listen, I can understand why you say that shit. I don't want my place trash either. There were some guys out here one time, my house kind of, and I was like, what the hell is this? And I had to come out and say something. This is not that type of neighborhood. I'm going to say that. You know what I mean? Because it's not. And I get that. But you can't generalize, and you have to understand that we have to give the kids something to be proud of. And so when they put on that uniform and they're out there doing that, then you get all the parents cheering and clapping and supporting, that gives them a sense of pride, and they're going to want to keep that. That's a rewarding feeling, right? That's how we need to, reinforce that positive reinforcement. but many of the kids that come from that environment, are learning negative reinforcement. They're negative. They're being praised for negative things. They're being praised for being gangster, the toughest gangster out there, having the most sex with many girls. And we have to change that. We have to. And the Democrats sometimes, as a Democrat, don't help by, enabling. You guys, we kind of enable with some of these laws like these bail reform. We have to be tough. Yo, you don't commit a crime. Stay away from jail. They don't have anything to lose. No pride, no dignities. Politicians give you, can't keep your dependency. Right. And I'll be honest, that's when I started to move forward. When I, stopped saying, woe is me. Why was I born in the hood? Why did I was born to, a family where my dad wasn't around and my mother, was in a situation she didn't have to go through what I went through, especially when I was dead smack in the middle, of a community that was so different from the one I had been living in, where everyone just about had mom and dad, right? They didn't have this story. I couldn't identify with them in those stories, but it motivated me. And I saw that I can do more. I can do better, because it wasn't just whites. It was blacks and Hispanics that were doing well. And so we need to see that. We need to see these kids have, the sports programs, the bands, the sports teams. We need to see the parents coming out and support the elected officials. Shout out to Reverend Steve Lopez, who was out there supporting the kids. We got to see that, man. We got to. It's important. That's how we reduce crime, because they'll be so worried about, yo, I got to, play my football game, or I got a volleyball, or I'm into, the debate team, or I'm on this, or I'm on that, and I'm doing well, and I'm getting positive reinforcement for it. I'm getting recognized for it. People saying I'm amazing for it. They see my talent. Politicians give black and brown people the bare minimum, keep them down and always needing assistance. I believe that. And I'm a brown person and I'm a black person, because I always believe I was black too. You can't tell me any different, right? And I'm white too, okay? I'm everything. I'm with my people. 5% of the prison population are women. And they're saying that, this bail reform has disproportionately affected not just blacks or Hispanics, minorities, or poor, but also women and mothers. Of course, if you're a woman, you're more likely to have a baby, you're going to be a mother, right? But the fact is that the 5% of the population is women. So how can it be disproportionately affecting more women if they're such a small population number? I don't know. But that's what that is here. Proportion of males and females throughout just population, 51%, 49. The lighter blue is females. The darker blue is males. Arrest, 15%. This is the overall population out of the prison of the population in the country. There's more women than men in the country. That's what that is, not prison. Arrest, women are 15%, men are 85%. Prosecution, women are prosecuted 25% of the time, 74%. So males beat them by a lot. Prison population, look, 5% to 95%. So I don't see how that number is. And I showed that video, but you have to understand that video is very biased. It's a liberal type of thing they were doing there. But I wanted to show, because they talk about the disproportion and how it's affected, certain groups, and how important it is to have this bail reform, and that, judges were taken away or given discretion now, when in fact it's the opposite, right? It's the opposite. Now, how the 1994 crime bill fed the mass incarceration crisis. So there you go. If you support Joe Biden, Bill Clinton, you support a guy that did this, they put a lot of blacks, Latinos, and poor people in jail. It's a fact. They gave them longer sentences also for similar crimes to their white counterparts, right? They make crack super bad. You get a super long charge for that, high bail, when the guy sniffing cocaine on Wall Street probably had bail reform back then for him, right? Right? So anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about that, right? And, after I took that deep look, so people voted for him. I just couldn't believe how people would have voted for Joe Biden knowing that fact, right? But anyway, let me get to Native Sage, because that's our local guy. The reason why I started talking about bail reform, and I wanted to give you guys an in-depth look at it. I wanted to be specific, give details, right? So you see that for most misdemeanor charges, there's no bail at all. Money bail is eliminated, right? Unless it's something to do with domestic violence, right, for non-violent felonies, just about everything except for domestic violence and some child sex offenses, right, and obviously conspiracy to commit murder. And then for violent felonies, they give the judges, that's where they give them discretion, right? Where they normally would give them, the appropriate bail of, if you kill somebody $1 million or you wanted to kill somebody, whatever. Now they're saying, hey, use your discretion. But what we mean by that is be easy, be easier. We're giving you the ability to be easier on them, right? Like, you're still permitted to give them the bond or the bail for these violent felonies, but you don't technically have to. And so when Nader Sayegh brings up the woman or the person who got the $250 bail and it's not fair that they, can't get out of jail, he's spinning it. He's spinning it on you. He's making it sound like that's what really is the case, right? But you can go online and you can see situations where a person was arrested with a gun. They got released right away, and then they reoffended with a gun. Why? Because the judges in that situation are given their discretion, but their discretion was taken away when it comes to misdemeanors, nonviolent felonies, right? So it's trickery, it's wordplay, right? It's the game of semantics. That's what he does. He's an attorney. He should know better. But of course, why would he? I mean, he was caught by a Supreme Court judge committing fraud when he wanted to run for mayor in 2007, for the city of Yonkers, and he fraudulently obtained signatures. And he said that he was there. He witnessed them in court to a Supreme Court judge. So it would not surprise me that he's trying to spin it in that way, right? And so we talked about the average bail amount because he talks about the lady. Mike Green, I like that. He said, we're not talking about the lady here that's stealing diapers. We're not talking about that. In fact, there should be no bail for her. If she's stealing diaper because she has a kid and she doesn't have the money, listen, release her from jail with some damn diapers, all right? But we're talking about individuals that have committed robberies, stealing from people, assaulting people, using a weapon because they're cases that are there. All right. That's what's the problem. And this is what I say time and time again. It doesn't matter what color you are. Shouldn't matter what party you belong to. Shouldn't matter what gender. Shouldn't matter your sexual preference. Doesn't matter how you identify. Does not matter what. If you're a human being and you want to live in peace, if you want safe neighborhoods, you want good schools for your kids, great jobs, right? You want to have affordable living, then we all should be on the same team. Those are the basics. Yet we are divided and fighting over these outer issues that are just very specific to, how many of you people have been affected by this really? How many of you people say, thank God because of bail reform, now it's going to impact my life in a positive way? Let me know how many people, right? How many people? And so I want to get to my other question about the PBA and their endorsement. When was the last time we saw elected officials speak out on crimes committed against Black on Black or Hispanics on Hispanics? Hey, John Cater, you're going on a very slippery, subject there, because I've seen this brought up many times and some people get offended, but I understand what you mean, right? We don't discuss what truly is affecting these communities. And I think that's one of the things that Candace Owens, who a lot of people don't like, has said. The real issue, what's the real problem in these communities, the Latino community, the Black community, what is really truly doing harm to the individuals who live in that community? Is it white people? Is it a white man? Is it a white police officer? I can tell you who is doing damage currently, those developers kicking them out, those real estate investors raising the rents, forcing people out, having people who are Black and Latino living in squalor while these guys talk about bail reform. You don't talk about housing reform. You don't talk about slumlord reform, Nader. What about the opioid crisis that your brother was a part of? You don't discuss that. We have an opioid epidemic here in Yonkers. People are overdosing. You see bodies all over Yonkers now. Be careful, that's not a speed bump. It's unbelievable. And I want to know, why are the PBA endorsing Nader Sayegh? Why? Rank and file is not happy about it. Crime is up. This is the bail reform guy. Why are Westchester County PBAs and Yonkers PBAs endorsing Nader Sayegh? That doesn't make sense to me. I would think that they'd endorse Mike Breen, because Mike Breen may be a lot of things, but I tell you what, I believe that Mike Breen will be the guy that will be tough on crime. Stay away from crime. I grew up poor. I grew up in the hood. I didn't have issues with police. And a lot of people I know that are Black and Latino that grew up in the hood did not have issues with police. Right? And I'm not saying that we don't have certain circumstances, certain cases. Absolutely. What I'm saying is we need to identify these individual cases and address them accordingly, but we can't generalize with these laws that will impact us all now. Businesses getting robbed. Got to have cameras all over now. In Atlanta, joggers are getting shot for no reason. They're being used as target practice. This is a fact. So why is it that the Yonkers, Westchester, because he bragged about this at the debate, Nader. Why is it that the hey, Hector Lopez, you run the Westchester County PBA law enforcement guys and all that, right? Why are you guys endorsing? Did you speak with the members about this? You know, the guys that fund you? Did you guys speak to, were there any minutes to have a meeting, anything, and say, hey, we're collectively agreeing to endorse Nader Sage, the bail reform guy? I'm just wondering. All right. I mean, I don't get it. Why would Hector Lopez, why would the PBA of Westchester and Yonkers endorse anyone that supported bail reform? That's strange. That's strange. It doesn't have anything to do with the zoning board position, does it, Hector? No, I don't think so. I doubt that. Freddie, what are you talking about? Sometimes you talk a lot of mess, So anyway, I'm trying to understand why is Nader Sage and why Hector Lopez and hey Keith, you were at the game today, right? I think you had an award. Why? I mean, I'm asking legitimately. What is it about Nader? What do you think? He's gonna help crime be reduced? He's good for law enforcement. I mean, what is it? What is it specifically? I would love to know. Let me know. I'm asking. I'm asking as a friend, and I'm asking for a friend, right? I'm asking. So yeah, listen, I got a lot of friends. I got a lot of cop friends, right? Not just in Yonkers, from all everywhere. I mean, law enforcement guys. I know a lot of law enforcement guys, even at the federal level, and all that good stuff. So, I mean, listen, look, my best friend, Mexican, right? He's a Mexican guy, Republican. He's a Republican. So what I'm saying is a lot of law enforcement guys at the federal level, local levels, county levels, they lean Republican. And that's not saying that's a bad thing, not saying anything negative. I'm just saying that, they don't usually lean Democrat, and especially if, do this bail reform stuff, right? And remember, like, folks, this bail reform law thing started at the Assembly, not at the Senate. So it was created in the Assembly. So that's Nader Sage. So you have to think about that, because really, what have the Assemblymen done? What have they done? Our schools are still in need of a lot, right? But hopefully we're getting it together. But that's no thanks to Nader, though he was there today. You left before the cheerleaders did their performance at halftime, man. That was the big thing, right? We wanted you to see that, because we want to let you know why we need you to really get us some money, or whoever's going to be up there at the Assembly, because it doesn't seem like you guys do that. But you passed this bail reform stuff. You got that done. And that has not gone so well. It's failed. It's not gone well at all. People don't like it. Most certainly not the police officers. And so why would, PBA endorse them? Why? And notice that he only said in Westchester and Yonkers, right? Anywhere else, we're not endorsing you, Nader, right? So I just want to know. But again, that's one thing that I think Mike Breen will be definitely good on, is making sure that bail reform and something is, changed about that. I mean, I don't know. I think that we need to let the judges have their own discretion on every single person that comes up to their court, and their courtroom, appears in their courtroom. And now, if there are decisions being made by judges that are seen as unfair, harsh, really not reasonable, then those judges should be identified, and they need to be, assessed, and they need to be evaluated and see is it that they have a problem, or maybe, what was their thinking. But to just, create a broad, this law to just, paint everything this way, all misdemeanors, everyone, that's not okay, man. What did you guys think was going to happen? South Broadway corridor got a super huge increase in robberies to the stores. The Rite Aid over there had to call in loss prevention to send people from corporate to spend some time there. And they said it's the worst they've ever seen right here in South Broadway. We love that record, Nader. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it up there at the Assembly. Thank you so much, man. Thank you. That's all we need is crime. But you don't want to give us our guns. Can we at least have guns? Can I have my gun? Can I walk around with it freely? Because if you're going to, have this bail reform stuff, how about this? No more bails. Let us have our guns. All law-abiding citizens could have a gun. No need to have a permit or license as long as you had never committed a crime. And then there's not going to be any more bails for people who commit crime. You can walk right up out of it, right? And then we can have the Texas shooting rules. In Texas, if someone walks into your house and you kill them, you're good to go. You will be found not guilty. In New York, if you do have a legal gun, they literally have to be just about killing you. You have to start seeing the white light, and talking to God before you can, shoot your legally owned firearm, Otherwise, they'll put you in jail for the rest of your life. Anyway, folks. So yeah, I just wanted to have this quick podcast. Yeah, 45 minutes. I've done enough. Yeah, because I don't understand why Nader's these law enforcement PBAs are endorsing Nader Sage. He's bragging about it. And this is the bail reform guy, along with this crime bill guy, Joe Biden. And I just thought that was a little strange. And then I just knew some of the things he was saying just didn't make sense. So I said, let me look into this. Let me look a little deeper, and see what the real facts are. And so he's really spinning it. He really is spinning it with that $250 bail, example that he uses, that he's probably going to continue to use, or maybe he might change it now that I mentioned it here on Basement Politics into something totally different. There have been many committed, especially in Yonkers, and now one elected council person at the scene of the crime to denounce it. Right. All these overdoses that are happening and they're not talking about it. And that's a huge problem. Huge problem. It's so huge that I did a podcast on it. And the very next day, Yonkers Voice did one also. And he tried to outdo me, right? By bringing in the mother whose 15-year-old daughter passed away when she was given a false pill, pain pill, had fentanyl in it. And that's happening a lot. They're putting fentanyl in cocaine. I hear weed, some people said, in the heroin, and they're creating fake pills. They're even making them look like candy, colorful. So as the mother, and I like what she said, she was on there, and I don't think Ruros was really, this is why I would love for her to come on Basement Politics, because I'm with you there. I give you the platform to be honest, and let's keep it real. But Ruros, he didn't want to touch that. But she's saying, I think she said there's an agenda. This is war. This is terrorism. Somebody's trying to purposely kill people. And I agree with that. It doesn't make sense that they would produce this stuff to look like candy. Why? Unless you wanted to trick people into taking it, specifically kids, so they can die. And the government is not saying anything. Assemblyman Nader Sage, not one word about the overdose problem in the city that he represents, considering that his brother was a part of the problem. His brother, Nadeem Sage, no longer a doctor, lost his medical license because he was supplying pills to people for wine, golfing outings, money, steak dinners, destroying lives. While he's on a boat with his wife on a river. Because that was one of the, exchanges he got for writing prescription. And they caught him, but they let him out of jail early. You see what I'm saying? Why do you think Nader Sage supported bail reform? Why do you think Nader Sage flopped on the exemption for religious reasons on vaccines, which, by the way, they're looking to put the COVID vaccine as on the list of vaccines that you have to give kids now to go to school. And that stuff is super dangerous. There's a freaking agenda to kill people. I don't care what anyone says, man. There's nothing crazy about that. Hi, Freddie. It's horrible what's going on in the city. You're right. Nobody's doing a damn thing. I added the damn. I'm sorry. I did. I added the damn. She didn't say damn. Hi, Denise. How you doing? Yes, I'm just so furious that I had to add the damn for you. No one is doing a dang thing about it. You're absolutely right. They want to act like it's not here. You know what they want to talk about? Luxury developments. They want to go and show where they're shoveling at the new groundbreaking. And it's so, not funny. Let's do word. Ironic that at that groundbreaking, ceremony they recently did, they found a dead body at the site where they're building. The next day after they did the groundbreaking ceremony, they find a dead body there at the site. I said that would have been crazy if they would have, been the ones that found it while they were doing the ceremony, and they see a finger or two pop up and like, and touch Tasha Diaz's toe or the city council president's toe. But actually, they had their shoes on that day, and I noticed that they've been wearing shoes ever since. But they don't say anything about it. They don't care. I mean, there's a guy literally lying on South Broadway in front of St. Joseph, and he was dead of apparent overdose. And they're finding people everywhere. Another guy in Yonkers Ave in Prescott in the woods there. And it's just bad. It's horrible, and not one peep about it. Right? Not one peep about it. But he's talking about bail reform. Got to make sure that the criminals are able to get out and re-offend. You can't make it hard for them to commit a crime again. You know what I'm saying? We got to make sure. And this is, like, to me, sabotaging our communities, sabotaging our society. Again, I can go back to and I know this Kanye West thing, but I mean, I don't get it. How do you allow, these rappers to say what they say, call women bees, specifically Black women? Right? They allow that. They make money off that. But the minute you say something, that's true, it's very true about the media, they want to shut this guy down. So they perpetuate this craziness, and they don't say nothing about it. They go on like, oh, look at what we're doing here. Look, we're digging in the ground here. Look, we're feeding some people here. You haven't heard much about the feeding. The politicians are more worried about lining their pockets instead of cleaning up the city. Some of them are worried about lining their pockets. Some of them are just worried about, maintaining their image, their, new career as a politician. Tasha Diaz is, listen, I don't know who that Fredo Vasquez page is, but they keep posting about Tasha Diaz and that she is giving her word that she's going to vote in favor of eliminating terms. So Tasha Diaz, she will do anything to maintain, the city council or majority leader. And I hear that maybe for her role in, if they do vote on eliminating terms, that she may become city council president. So look at that. Tune in for that. And maybe Lakeisha Collins Bellamy, the city council president, will replace Velasquez, Judge Elena Velasquez, Carmen Gomez Goldberg's stepdaughter, as the city court judge, because Lakeisha don't want to be a politician. She's doing this. My boss, Wilson Kimball over at Macy said, hey, you'll be perfect. You're dark enough. We need a Black woman to beat an Arabic guy because we can't use a white guy to beat him. I mean, and who's going to vote? And then we're going to destroy this guy. We're going to make him look like, some gangster terrorist guy on these pages and send all these things to his wife and neighbors and everything. Right. And so that's what we do. We needed you, right? So they used her, and she don't really want it to do that. So she's going to go there. Tasha Diaz, city council president. That's enough reward for her. She's good living in affordable housing. Some people are good living in the hood. They are. They'll deck out their apartment, 70-inch screen TV, 80-inch. They got Raymond Flanagan's sofa and all that stuff, right? And they still in the hood. And that's Tasha Diaz. She got the change, the furry flip-flops, the Raymond Flanagan couch. You know what I'm saying? And she got the 70-inch TV that she put up in her office and apartment. And that's good for her. And I'm the city council president, bitch. You know what I'm saying? That's how that's good enough for her. But that's it. That's all they care about. They too busy giving out expired food or vegetables that seen a better day. Yeah, they've been kind of low about the food and the vegetable, but they don't do anything. Bottom line, you do not do anything. You do not do anything. Your city council does nothing. And that's why it's important that we come out next year, 2023. You have to vote for different people, right? And I think there are going to be people definitely coming out to challenge some of these individuals. I mean, I think they're going to be waiting to the last very second to make announcements because this is Yonkers. And Yonkers, politics is rough and it's nasty and it's cutthroat. It's very bad. It really is. It really is. And everybody's trying to remain where they at. Right. And that's what they want. And then you got those at the top that are, enriching themselves. Right. And all the while people are dying of overdoses. All the while people are getting evicted. All the while people are getting their rents raised. All the while people are living in squalor, black mold, sheetrock that's falling apart, broken windows, cracked and broken walls. Our schools, we're trying to improve them. We're going slowly, but they still need so much more. They need so much more. The important things that we need to be focusing on and speaking it about and making changes on, they completely ignore. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. So who will you vote for Assemblyman of the 90th District? Will it be Nader Sage, the incumbent, the Democrat, or Mike Breen, the Republican challenger, city council president for the 5th district? I'm sorry, city council member of the 5th district. He is a guy that I believe will do something about law enforcement stuff and bail reform and make a change there. I definitely do believe that. I don't trust Nader Sage. He's flip-flopped a lot. You know, he doesn't make the decisions that I would want him to make. You know, that religious exemption stuff with the vaccines, this bail reform stuff, what's going on with the overdoses. You got a lot to make up for, sir. Your brother did some damage out here, and you need to get up in Albany and pass a bill to help the mothers of all the kids that have died of overdoses. I'm Freddie Vasquez, Basement Politics Unfiltered. Who will you vote for November 8th? Nader Sage or Mike Breen? Change is coming. We have to support good candidates. Go check out John Cater, jcater at impactnow.com. He is looking for the right candidates. If you get on the ballot, he will give you the support you need. Go check him out. I'm Freddie Vasquez, Basement Politics, bail reform, fact, fictions, and the PBA endorsements. Hey, guys, I mean, do you like bail reform, police, or you don't? Which one is it? I don't know. I'm confused, right? And if you guys didn't vote for that, or you don't know why, you know, your union is endorsing individuals that support bail reforms, then you got to speak up, guys. Change comes when you speak up. I promise you that. I'm Freddie Vasquez. Let's make change. I need something to drink. Where's my water? I don't know where I put my Red Bull. Where's my Red Bull? I am Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Thank you for watching, folks. We got a lot of important lectures coming up. This one is one of them on November 8th. Also, who will you vote for in the governor's race? Will it be Kathy Hochul or Lee Zeldin? Geez, am I a Republican or what? Or are the Democrats just that bad this time around? Man, maybe I got to start running. We need different Democrats. I'm Freddie Vasquez, folks. I don't know, man. I don't know. That's why I don't like parties. That's why I say forget party. I don't want to be labeled anything. But I have to in order to really, you know, engage in the process, right? You have to, you know, especially you have to pick one of the major parties, Republican or Democrat. You want to especially vote in the primaries, right? Which is big. I mean, you usually don't have anyone else really. Right? It's either Democrat or Republican. And in Yonkers, it's usually just a Democrat. The Republicans, whenever they feel like it, right, guys? Yonkers GOP. GOP stands for Get Out. Yeah, you know. Biden's crime prevention plan repeats old mistakes on policing. Biden is no good when it comes to crime. The 1994 federal crime bill that created tough new criminal sentencing and incentivized states to build more prisons and pass truth in sentencing laws is getting new scrutiny during this 2020 cycle. Yeah, people are bringing it up. ACLU said you guys destroyed black communities. Defenders of the law deny that it created the problem of mass incarceration. Of course, a term used to describe the fact that the United States incarcerated more of its people, disproportionately blacks, than any other nation in the world. They argued that mass incarceration was a problem before the law passed. That could be true too. But Biden didn't help. Folks, you got to research this stuff. You got to read for yourself. Don't let them give you the information. If you let Nader Sage tell it to you, we're locking up women who are stealing Pampers and leaving them in jail for the rest of their life. I was thinking something different, but that works too.
I was raised in housing.
You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddie Vasquez. You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddie Vasquez.
I want to end this quick because I'm greedy and I want somebody to butter chicken. So thank you. In another one, Mr. Rumo lied to me. And I don't vote for the person that lied to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching Basement Politics with my husband, Freddie Vasquez.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
I want to end this quick because I'm greedy and I want somebody to butter chicken. So thank you.
Freddie wins. Freddie wins.